I never thought I'd be the one staring at my phone in disbelief, heart pounding as I pieced together what was happening right under my nose. It started with a weird feeling, like a flicker of doubt that I tried to shake off. But when I finally saw the messages, everything hit me like a storm I wasn't prepared for. It's strange how trust can feel so solid one moment and then completely shattered the next. I kept replaying their words in my head, trying to convince myself there must be some mistake, some explanation that would make it all okay. But the truth was staring me down, unrelenting and unforgiving. I remember that night vividly, sitting on the edge of my bed, phone trembling in my hand, the screen glowing with secrets that weren't meant for me. The air felt thick, heavy with betrayal. My chest ached, and I couldn't stop the tears from falling, not because I was weak, but because I was utterly broken. They had been so careful, so convincing. The way they smiled, the way they talked to me like nothing was wrong, it all felt like a cruel joke. How could someone I trusted so deeply become a stranger overnight? It was as if the person I knew had vanished, replaced by someone I didn't recognize. I kept asking myself how I missed the signs. The late-night texts, the secretive glances, the sudden changes in plans, they all made sense now, but back then I had brushed them aside, wanting to believe in the best version of them. One by one, the pieces fell into place, painting a picture I never wanted to see. The late nights out, the whispered phone calls, the hidden chats. It wasn't just one slip-up. It was a pattern, a deliberate choice to keep me in the dark while they lived a double life. I remember feeling trapped, like I was in a room with walls closing in. Every breath felt harder, every thought heavier. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, but my voice was caught somewhere between anger and heartbreak. The hardest part was realizing that it wasn't just about what they did, but who they did it with. People I considered friends, people I trusted with my secrets, had been part of this betrayal. It felt like a knife twisting deeper with every revelation. I started to question everything, my judgment, my intuition, even my worth. How could I have been so blind? Was I too naive, too trusting? These questions haunted me, echoing in the silence of my room long after the phone was put down. But amidst the chaos, a small voice inside me refused to be silenced. It was the part that still believed I deserved honesty, respect, and love. That voice reminded me that their choices didn't define my value or who I am. I began to write down everything I remembered, every conversation, every suspicious moment. It was like trying to map out a maze, hoping to find a way out of the confusion and pain. The act of writing was both cathartic and terrifying. Some days felt unbearable. The weight of betrayal made even the simplest tasks overwhelming. I found myself losing sleep, haunted by images and words that refused to fade. It was a storm that raged inside me, relentless and cruel. But there were moments of clarity too, small, sharp flashes of understanding that helped me see beyond the hurt. I realized that holding on to anger wasn't going to heal me. It was just another chain keeping me tied to the past. I reached out to a few close friends, the ones I trusted the most. Sharing my story was terrifying, but their support became a lifeline. They didn't judge or rush me, they just listened, letting me unravel at my own pace. One afternoon, I found myself walking through a park, the cool breeze brushing against my face. For a moment, I let myself breathe without the weight of betrayal crushing my chest. It was a glimpse of hope, fragile but real. Yet the shadow of doubt lingered. Every new relationship, every interaction felt tinted with suspicion. I caught myself questioning motives, reading too much into innocent gestures. Trust had become a fragile thread, easily snapped. I knew I needed to confront them, to hear their side of the story. But the thought of facing them, looking into their eyes, and seeing the truth terrified me. What if their excuses made it worse? What if the person I loved was gone for good? When the moment finally came, the conversation was raw and painful. Words were exchanged like weapons, each one cutting deeper than the last. I wanted honesty, but what I got was a mix of defensiveness and half-truths that only deepened the wound. It was in that moment I realized that sometimes people choose to protect themselves over the ones they claim to care about. That realization stung more than any lie or betrayal because it shattered the foundation of what I believed was mutual trust. After they left, silence filled the room, heavy and suffocating. I sat there, trying to piece together my shattered heart, wondering how to move forward when everything felt so broken. Days turned into weeks, and slowly I began to rebuild. Not the old version of myself, but a new one, wiser, more cautious, but still open to the possibility that trust could grow again, even if it would never be the same. I started setting boundaries, learning to say no, and prioritizing my own well-being. It was a painful but necessary step toward healing, a way to protect the fragile parts of me that had been hurt the most. Some nights the memories still haunt me. The laughter that once felt genuine now echoes with a bitter edge. But I remind myself that those memories don't have to define my future or my capacity to trust again. I've come to understand that trust is not given lightly. It's earned, nurtured, and respected. And when it's broken, it takes time, patience, and courage to rebuild, if it's even possible at all. There are moments when I catch myself looking over my shoulder, wary of the people around me. It's a defense mechanism, a shield forged from the pain of betrayal, but also a barrier I need to learn to lower. Sometimes I wonder if they ever felt guilty, if they understood the damage they caused. Did they think about me in those secret moments? Or was it all just a game to them, something to be discarded when it no longer suited their needs? I've learned that forgiveness is complicated. It's not about forgetting or excusing what happened, but about finding peace within myself so I can move on without carrying the weight of resentment. The hardest lesson has been accepting that some people are not meant to stay in our lives forever. No matter how much we want them to, sometimes their presence is temporary and their impact is a painful but important part of our growth. I still catch myself scrolling through old messages, a bittersweet mix of nostalgia and hurt washing over me. It's a reminder that healing is not linear and that some days will be harder than others. But with each passing day, I grow stronger. I'm learning to trust my instincts again, to listen to that small voice inside that guides me toward healthier relationships and genuine connections. The journey is far from over. There are still moments when the past creeps in, when doubt threatens to take over. But I'm determined to face those moments head-on, armed with the lessons I've learned and the resilience I've built. Sometimes I talk to myself out loud, reminding myself that I deserve honesty, respect, and love. It feels silly, but it's a powerful affirmation that keeps me grounded when everything else feels uncertain. I've started journaling again, pouring out my thoughts and feelings onto the page. It's like having a conversation with a trusted friend who listens without judgment, helping me untangle the mess inside. There are times when I imagine confronting them once more, demanding the full truth, seeking closure that may never come. It's a fantasy that helps me process the pain, even if reality is far messier. I've also discovered the power of silence, that sometimes not reacting, not chasing answers, can be the strongest response. It's a way to reclaim control when everything else feels out of reach. Friends have reminded me that I'm not alone, that many have faced similar betrayals and come out stronger. Their stories inspire me, giving me hope that I too can heal and rebuild trust one day. I catch glimpses of myself in the mirror that surprise me, someone who's been through fire and come out scarred but unbroken. It's a strange kind of pride, mixed with sadness, but it fuels my determination to keep moving forward. Sometimes, late at night, I lie awake thinking about the future, what relationships will look like, how I'll guard my heart without shutting it off completely. It's a delicate balance that I'm still learning to navigate. I've started saying no to people and situations that don't feel right, trusting my gut even when it's scary. It's a new form of self-respect that I'm slowly embracing, step by cautious step. The betrayal taught me that trust isn't just about others. It's also about trusting myself to recognize when something's wrong and having the strength to walk away if needed. Sometimes I wonder if I'll ever fully trust again, or if the scars will always leave me cautious, hesitant, afraid to be vulnerable. It's a question with no easy answer, one I'm still grappling with. Despite everything, I find moments of joy, laughing with friends, enjoying a sunset, rediscovering hobbies I'd neglected. These moments remind me there's life beyond the pain, waiting to be embraced. I've started to pay more attention to the little things, how someone listens, how they treat others, the consistency of their actions. It's a new way of evaluating trust that feels more grounded and realistic. I sometimes catch myself daydreaming about what could have been, about a version of the story where they chose honesty instead of deceit. It's a painful but natural part of grieving what was lost. I've realized that rebuilding trust is not a solo journey. It requires openness, communication, and willingness from both sides. Without that, it's just an illusion, a fragile facade waiting to crumble. Sometimes I find solace in music, songs that capture the raw emotions I'm feeling, that give voice to the confusion, anger, and hope swirling inside me. Music becomes a companion in my darkest hours. There are moments when I feel overwhelmed by the weight of it all, like I'm drowning in emotions too big to handle. But then I remind myself that it's okay to feel, to be vulnerable, and to ask for help. I've started seeing a therapist, someone who helps me untangle the knots of betrayal and rebuild my sense of self. It's hard work, but every session feels like a step toward healing and reclaiming my life. I'm learning that healing isn't about erasing the past, but integrating it into my story in a way that empowers me rather than defines me. It's a slow, sometimes painful process, but it's progress nonetheless. I find myself writing letters I never send, words poured out to them, to myself, to the universe. It's a way to release the pain and make sense of the chaos swirling inside my mind. Sometimes I revisit places we used to go, feeling the echoes of happier times mixed with the sting of betrayal. It's a strange mix of nostalgia and pain, but it reminds me how far I've come. I've realized that trust is a gift, fragile and precious, and when it's broken, it changes how we see the world. But it doesn't have to close us off completely. It can teach us to be more careful, yes, but also more compassionate. Every time I feel the urge to retreat into myself, I remind myself that connection is what heals. Opening up, even when it's scary, is the only way to rebuild bridges and find new paths forward. I sometimes imagine what it would be like to forgive completely, to let go of the bitterness and pain. It feels like a distant dream, but it's one I hold on to, a hope for peace and freedom. The experience has changed how I approach relationships. I'm more cautious, yes, but also more intentional about who I let into my life and how much of myself I share. I've started to surround myself with people who value honesty and loyalty, who show up consistently and respect my boundaries. It's a small but powerful circle that nurtures the trust I'm learning to rebuild. Sometimes I catch myself smiling at memories that once hurt, finding a bittersweet beauty in how those moments shaped me. It's a sign of growth, a glimpse of resilience shining through the cracks. I still have days when the pain feels fresh, when the betrayal feels like a wound that won't close. But those days are fewer now, replaced by moments of strength and self-awareness. I've learned that trust issues aren't a flaw or weakness, they're a natural response to being hurt. Accepting that has helped me be kinder to myself and patient with the healing process. Sometimes I wonder how things would have been different if they had chosen honesty from the start. It's a question without answers, but it fuels my determination to be truthful in my own relationships. I've started noticing the subtle ways I protect myself, small walls built around my heart that I'm learning to dismantle slowly, carefully, with trust as the foundation. Every now and then, I find myself writing down the lessons I've learned, hoping that someday I can look back and see how far I've come, not just how much I've been hurt. I'm aware that the journey ahead is long and uncertain. Trust won't come easily or quickly, but I'm committed to walking this path, even when it feels lonely or frightening. Sometimes I catch myself wondering if they regret what they did, if they ever think about the person they hurt the most. It's a painful thought, but it reminds me that their choices were theirs, not mine. I've realized that healing requires courage, not just to face the betrayal, but to open my heart to the possibility of trust again, despite the risks involved. There are moments when I feel a flicker of hope, a sense that maybe someday trust won't feel like a fragile thread, but a strong, unbreakable bond. I've learned to celebrate small victories, times when I let my guard down a little, when I believed in someone's honesty, even if it was scary. Those moments are precious and worth holding on to. Sometimes I find myself talking to my future self, asking for strength and patience, hoping that the person I'm becoming is someone who can trust and be trusted fully. I'm learning that trust is not about perfection, but about effort, consistency, and respect. It's messy and complicated, but it's also the foundation of meaningful connection. I've realized that trust issues don't have to define me or my relationships. They are a part of my story, yes, but not the whole story, a chapter, not the entire book. Sometimes I think about sharing this story with others who have been hurt, hoping that it might help them feel less alone and give them courage to face their own betrayals. I've started to see the beauty in vulnerability, that courage to be open and honest, even when it's scary, is what builds true trust and deep connections. Sometimes I write down affirmations, reminders that I am worthy of love, respect, and honesty. They feel like little sparks of light in the dark moments. I'm slowly learning to balance caution with openness, protecting myself without shutting others out completely. It's a delicate dance, but one I'm committed to mastering. There are days when the past feels heavy, but I try to focus on the present and the future, on the possibilities that lie ahead rather than the pain behind me. I've realized that sometimes the most powerful act of trust is forgiving ourselves, for trusting too much, for being vulnerable, and for daring to believe in people again. I'm aware that rebuilding trust takes time, and that's okay. Healing is not a race but a journey, one that requires patience, kindness, and self-compassion. Sometimes, late at night, I write down questions I want to ask them, the things I still don't understand. It helps me process my thoughts, even if I never send those words. I've started to notice how my perspective on relationships has shifted, from idealism to realism, from blind faith to cautious hope, but hope nonetheless. Sometimes I feel exhausted by the emotional roller coaster, but then I remind myself that every step forward, no matter how small, is progress toward healing. I've learned to recognize red flags and listen to my intuition, skills I didn't have before, but now see as crucial in protecting my heart. Sometimes I find comfort in solitude, using that time to reflect, recharge, and reconnect with myself in ways I never did before. I'm aware that trust is fragile, but also that it can be rebuilt with effort, honesty, and genuine care. It's a delicate process, but one that's worth fighting for. Sometimes I wonder what my life would look like if I had never been betrayed. Would I be more carefree, less guarded? But then I realize that the pain has also shaped my strength and empathy. I've started to find joy in small things again, the warmth of sunlight, the sound of laughter, the comfort of a good book. These moments are reminders that life is still beautiful, even after betrayal. Sometimes I reach out to new people, cautiously opening up, testing the waters of trust. It's scary, but also a step toward reclaiming connection and hope. I've learned that trust issues don't have to isolate me. Sharing my story with others has created bonds of understanding and support that I never expected. Sometimes I catch myself dreaming of a future where trust is no longer a source of pain, but a foundation of peace and happiness. I'm learning that vulnerability is not weakness, but strength, and that trusting again is an act of courage that I can choose every day. Sometimes I look back at the person I was before the betrayal and feel a mix of sadness and pride for the innocence lost and the resilience gained. I know that my story is still unfolding, that there will be ups and downs, but I'm ready to face whatever comes next with an open heart and cautious optimism. Sometimes I remind myself that healing is not linear, and that it's okay to have setbacks, doubts, and fears along the way. I've started to believe that trust, once broken, can be rebuilt, not necessarily with the same people, but within myself and new relationships that honor my worth. Sometimes I write down moments when I felt truly seen and respected, using them as anchors to remind me that genuine connection is possible. I'm learning to celebrate my own growth, the strength it takes to face betrayal, process pain, and still open up to love and trust again. Sometimes I wonder how different my life would be if I had learned these lessons earlier, but then I realize that every experience, painful or not, has shaped who I am today. I know that trust issues are part of my story now, but they don't have to define my future or limit my capacity for connection and joy. Sometimes I find myself smiling at the thought of a day when trust feels natural again, when I can fully believe in someone's honesty without fear. I'm learning that trust is a choice we make every day, sometimes easy, sometimes hard, but always worth the risk for the chance at true connection. Sometimes I remind myself that my worth is not tied to others, actions, or betrayals, but comes from within, steady and unshaken. I'm still navigating this complicated journey, but with each step, I'm growing stronger, wiser, and more open to the possibility of trust and love again. Sometimes I hope that sharing this story will help others feel less alone, that they might find courage to face their own betrayals and heal. I know that the road ahead won't always be easy, but I'm ready to walk it with an open heart, learning, growing, and trusting again, one day at a time.